joining us to discuss the latest exploration developments on one of the largest high-grade undeveloped precious metal assets in Western Canada is Sean Kunkun of Dolly Varden Silver. Mr. Kunkun, thank you for joining us today, sir.
Grateful to be on, Maurice. Thanks for having me.
Well, glad to have you on the program as Dolly Varden Silver recently announced an ambitious step-out drill program that includes 5 drill rigs exploring up to 45,000 meters, along with plans for an updated mineral resource estimate, setting up what looks to be another exciting year for shareholders. Before we begin, Mr. Kunkun, please introduce us to Dolly Varden Silver, which is number one in terms of size, meets grade, and share the exciting opportunity the company presents to shareholders.
Hey, thanks, Maurice. So to remind viewers, Dolly Varden is located in BC's prolific Golden Triangle. And I can't say enough about the region, the district. Going back to the 1920s, we started with the Premier Mine. I'm just going to focus on the gold and silver history of the triangle. I won't go too much into the base metal opportunities, but those are vast. But we've had 3 major mines, the Premier Mine, Eskay Creek, and Bruce Jack. And these 3 gold and silver mines are up in terms of some of the highest caliber mines on this planet. And the Golden Triangle, I really think it's in its infancy. Even though you've got 100 years of production history, this is an area that was covered by ice. This is an area that up until the last few years has lacked infrastructure, has lacked the low-cost power that it has today with the Northwest Transmission Line, and it's lacked the deep water seaport. But today, we've got all of that infrastructure in place. We've got the roads, we've got the power, we've got the port, and we've also got glaciers and ice receding, and we are also aided with modern exploration tools. So the opportunity at Dolly Varden is we have one of the most unexplored parts of the Golden Triangle. And I would argue in terms of topography, we're not up on the top of a mountain where a glacier stands over that deposit. We are nestled in a safe valley. We've got our project is a past producer. So our project is part of the rich history of the Golden Triangle, where silver was first discovered here over 100 years ago. Our project was in production. Like the reawakening of Premier or Eskay, this is the reawakening of the Dolly Varden Silver Project. Maurice, the difference today, though, is where we have dramatically improved our mineral inventory, and the opportunity for shareholders is by making some regional consolidations. So now we have a large, high-grade silver and gold resource. It positions us as a very unique opportunity. It's the only project with this size and grade of deposit in this location. So it's our differentiators for any viewers who are looking for some exposure to both silver and gold. Dolly Varden is the key. And Maurice, when I started as CEO 3 years ago, Dolly Varden was a tiny company, measured at sub $20 million valuation. And the share price was around 20 cents a share. My goal was to make Dolly Varden a top 10 silver name. Well, how do we measure that? Today, we have gone from that $20 million valuation. We're valued at over $200 million today. The share price is up significantly from where we started, 400 or 500%. But in terms of valuing our success, we have now moved from, the bottom of the barrel, and we're actually at a position right now where we're the 33rd position in the SILJ. So we are moving up the ranks, and my goal is to make it into the top 10 and then that's one way to measure it is in an ETF holding. But we've attracted some phenomenal shareholders, the likes of Hecla, Eric Sprott, Fidelity. We've got over $26 million in the bank. And as you said, we're just about to embark on a very, very aggressive drill program.
Well, I have full confidence that you will exceed the top 10, as Dolly Varden is just a perfect blend of business and geological acumen, and we're going to find out more about that here in this interview. Mr. Kun Kun, take us into the Golden Triangle of BC and onto your flagship Kitsault Valley project. Walk us through the exploration plan and the key objectives, beginning with the Wolf vein deposit, where your technical team was able to double the strike length of the Wolf deposit, as well as extending high-grade silver mineralization to over 750 meters in dip extent.
So right now, as we look at this opportunity, and we've got a lot of prospective horizon, where you've got the right host rock, we've got the right conditions to host a world-class asset here, and in all categories, you've got about 63 million ounces of silver and 1 million ounces of gold already identified, and that's based on 2019 reports. We've done about 50,000 meters of drilling, growing those deposits, but those resources are made up of 7 deposits. So when you talk about the Wolf deposit, and you talk about doubling the strike extent at Wolf, that's only one of 7 deposits.
Yeah.
And Wolf is exciting because it's an area that was undercover. There's some overburden. There's a sedimentary cap that was preventing previous explorers from seeing the opportunity. The other 7 deposits, including Wolf, all daylight. They all go to surface and were evident for explorers even 100 years ago. But where we've taken this opportunity to the next level is by taking that risk, going and drilling below the sedimentary cap, and finding that the silver and gold mineralization persists below the cap. What does it mean? Well, it means we've just opened up 5.5 kilometers of opportunity heading north to the gold deposits up on the ridge. And it's also telling me that there's a relationship between Wolf and one of the highest grade parts of the deposit, which is the Kitsault vein, which is made up of the Torbrit resource. Now, Torbrit's another one of these 7 deposits. And if we look at Torbrit for what it is today, it's about 35 million ounces of silver, just at Torbrit alone. And there's been about 19 million ounces produced at Torbrit. And so you've got a plus 50 million ounce silver deposit, one of 7. But I think there's a relationship between Wolf and Torbrit. And one of the goals, there's many this year, is to show that connection, to show that within that 1.4 kilometer gap, we've got the same system here. It's the same dip, it's the same strike, it's the same orientation. We think there's a relationship there, and what that would mean if we can fill in 1.5 kilometers, it would have a material impact to our resource estimate, and then we would want to update that resource estimate. One of the other objectives, while we're staying within this Silver Valley, is up at the Wolf deposit. And Wolf is an area where, we successfully have been stepping out very ambitiously, increasing the strike length to about 800 total meters. And so we want to follow up on that, but we also want to follow up on extending those. And whether it's a parallel system or an extension, we're not sure yet, but there's just a tremendous amount of drilling to do to infill the big discoveries we've made at Wolf and extend them. And then one of the things that's most exciting about Wolf is we're having a lot of success as we go to the southwest. As we move east, okay, so we're hitting on this southwest plunge. We exited the year with hole 329, where we hit about 1,500 grams of silver over 16 meters. So that was one of the best drill holes, 1.5 kilos of silver over 16 meters is one of the best drill holes this project's ever seen. And it's really close to surface, and it's heading off in a totally different direction than where we were having all the success. So on the silver side, in the silver part of the valley, I would say Wolf, Kitsault are some of the big objectives. And then as we focus on the ridge, we pulled some big gold numbers last year, the best gold drill intercepts in all of the Golden Triangle. And Maurice, that's saying a lot considering the likes of SK and Brucejack and Premier are in the neighborhood. So the big headline hole last year was 46 grams of gold over 25 meters, which is, it's a mind-blowing number.
It's exceptional.
Yeah, and then another exceptional hole there was 27 grams of gold and 468 grams of silver over 9 meters. And so we've identified a corridor. We've identified a golden corridor where you have this rebrecciated breccia. And the simplest way to describe this is multiple pulses. And in those multiple pulses, we're getting up to kilo grades of gold. And so I want to follow up on that high grade golden corridor and continue to grow high grade gold ounces. And then there's another deposit called, there's 7, Homestake Silver, and we had a kilo and a half grades on a 200 meter step out from the main deposit. So that's another area. There's a ton of exploration potential. The one thing I also want to mention is there's a pattern. There's a pattern on the property that we've identified. And that pattern is every 1.4 kilometers, there's a major deposit. However, if you look at the project and you look at where the 7 deposits are, there's a 5.5 kilometer gap in between the 7 deposits where we should be able to fit another 3 deposits. So doing work in that gap zone and again, it's a big area. We did some great work last year vectoring into where we could make that next major discovery on the property. And so in addition to extending known deposits, finding a new one would also really, blow the cap off this thing.
So just to summarize here, 5 drill rigs, 45,000 meters, step out drilling, infill drilling, and also discovery drilling. Is that correct?
That's correct. And, we've got a strong treasury with 26 million in the bank. Maurice, I'd put my technical team up there with any other technical team in the business. And then in addition to all that, you mentioned business acumen. Our management team, our board of directors, and our shareholders have demonstrated that we will get behind the right opportunities. So it's not just, we hope to find more through drilling. One of the greatest growths that we've seen for this company has come in the boardroom, not in the field. So we're continuing to monitor other opportunities. We are in a market today, and I'm sure your viewers who are avid followers of junior mining will know this better than anybody. It's a tough environment for most companies. Most companies have very little money. Their share prices are down. There's some tired management teams out there who are looking to move on to new things and new starts. So we are monitoring some opportunities on the M&A side. And Maurice, I've said this to you before. Ultimately, I think Dolly Varden will be prey to a major, right? And hopefully, this is just an animal that's just quite a lot bigger than it is today before that happens. But ultimately, before we do marry up with a larger entity, we hope to get bigger. So we're in the predator phase right now, and we're growing organically through this drill program. We've grown through acquisitions, so we're continuing to try to fatten up before that ultimate moment where we marry up with a larger entity.
Speaking of bigger and growing, I see that Dolly Varden also announced the release of an updated mineral resource estimate this year. When can we expect that to be published? And without being too forward-looking, is your team expecting a material change that will further distance Dolly Varden in terms of size, meets grade from its peers?
So the 43-101 that we filed on CDAR it's a really good question, and I'm glad you asked it. So prior to the acquisition of Homestake, what the 43-101 talked about where there was 2 separate reports. We were referencing 2 different areas. But now we see this as one project. So we wanted to update the language in the report to talk about one project versus 2 projects. So there was that was the reason for the refiling of the 43-101 in terms of updating the ounces and updating the resource estimate. We're doing a significant amount of drilling this year. That is a conversation that we'll be having this time next year in terms of, is it time to start putting our minds around the economics around this project? At this point, the reason I haven't done it is I just think there's a lot more growth to happen, and I don't want to prematurely put economics around a project that we're just wrapping our arms around. I really think that the ounces that we have to date, which were expressed in a silver equivalent in all categories, is about 140 million ounces. I personally believe that we're only 15% of the way to where this project could go. And so, my target is a billion ounce silver project. And, that's what we're focused on. And also the other thing we're focused on is we're focused on grade. We could probably reach those goals by drawing a larger mineral envelope at a lower grade. We're not interested in that. We are not going to sacrifice grade. So we want to have one of the highest grade undeveloped projects and continue to grow the drill bit.
In terms of news flow, when can shareholders expect to receive the next update on your team's progress?
So I anticipate putting out news when the drill is turning. So we sent a team up to site recently. We had a barge come up there. We've got another barge coming up with the drill rigs in 2 days on the 18th of May. And, we should be drilling by June 1st, and then we'll have news out around that. And then I would think, because we don't have a lot of competition up in the area that's drilling, the assay labs early in the season, they're quite quiet right now. So I think we could be in a position, but some point, maybe by the end of July, to release our first assays.
Oh, that's excellent. A number of catalysts on the rise here. Switching gears, let's get into some numbers. Mr. Kun, please provide the capital structure for Dolly Varden Silver.
So we've got 254 million shares issued and outstanding. We have no warrants. And in terms of ownership, Eric Sprott is a 10% shareholder. Hecla Mining is a 10% shareholder. Fidelity is a 7.5% shareholder. Fury Gold Mines is a 23% shareholder. So those four shareholders I just mentioned own about 50% of the company. We've got another 40% that's held by other institutions that have been very supportive. Institutions like Sprott, Delbrook, and others. And we're covered by some analysts like Geordie Mark, Stuart McDougall, and Michael Gray. We've got target prices as high as $2 a share. We're currently trading at around 80 cents Canadian. And so that is the capital structure, the shareholders, and some of the analysts that follow us.
And full disclosure, I added to my position last week, as I do monthly, and I believe that the share price at the time was in the upper 90s, and I have no complaints, sir. No complaints. All right, sir. In closing, what keeps you up at night that we don't know about?
Look, I just want to drive value for my shareholders, and I'm not happy that the stock is off some recent all-time highs. However, I also know that, with silver going from 26 to 23 and gold going from, almost a new high, close to 2,100 to sub 2,000 today, sentiment comes in and out. But ultimately, look, I'm not building this business for this day, this week, or this month. Good business is boring. Good business takes time. And ultimately, what keeps me up at night, I've actually been sleeping pretty good recently, Maurice, putting out the type of drill results we had last season. And I just have a lot of confidence in my team. And things will go wrong, as they always do. But I've got a team that has overcome. I just have a lot of confidence that, we'll make good things come out of bad situations. And we're not going to quit. We will not quit. We're going to continue to drive this company forward.
Speaking of time and confidence, myself and a number of the most respected names in this industry view you, sir, as the next generational wealth builder. So we have full confidence in you, and that's just, again, not coming from me. the biggest names in this space that I speak to offline, and they've referenced it at conferences when discussing who are the next generation wealth builders. Your name is always in the discussion. So, Mr. Kun, we'll leave it there. It's been a pleasure speaking with you today. Wishing you and Dolly Varden Silver the absolute best, sir.
Thank you, Maurice.